Hi everyone, welcome to part 2. Okay, Malakhov has just played d2, and Svidler answered with f6, and we've just seen why queen g6 was the correct move in this situation. f6 has a couple of ideas in mind. Is preventing the queen from defending the third rank here, so moves like queen g6 check and mate on g7 is threatened because the bishop still has the f pawn pinned. But here Malakhov played a brilliant move, and if you want to try and spot it, then stop the video now. Queen takes f6 is the move, and now white is hopelessly lost. There was no, instead of queen takes f6, there was no d takes e1 queen, of course, because now it's mate in 2 with queen g6 check, and the f pawn is pinned, so king h8 is the only move, and now queen g7 is mate. So queen takes f6 anyway, and then came bishop takes d4 from Svidler, but this was another weak move. Better was king g2. In any case, he's lost at this stage, and he should have resigned here, really. Taking the queen instead was equally bad. If rook takes f6, because now d takes e1 queen check, and this effectively wins a rook for a pawn, but that's the least of Svidler's problems. Best play continues king g2, queen g3 check, king f1, bishop takes f6, and it's completely lost for white. So bishop takes d4 is the game continuation anyway. Now came queen takes d4 check, and king g2, which was the final blunder from Svidler, and this allows a forced mate in 5 moves. If you want to try and find it, then stop the video now. D takes e1 knight with check, incredibly, is the first move, and the only move that leads to a forced mate. And here, unsurprisingly, Svidler resigned. He has 3 possible moves after this pawn promotes and becomes a knight. There's rook takes e1, but now it's mate in 2 with queen f2 check, king h1, and knight g3 is mate. Other possible moves after this knight promotion, there's king h2, but now there's queen d2 check, and white is getting mated on g2. There's nothing he can do about it other than move pieces in the way, like knight e2, but now of course comes queen takes e2 check, rook f2, queen takes f2 check, king h1 is the only move, and now queen g2 is mate. And the only other move after this check is king h1, but now comes knight g3 check, king h2 the only move, knight takes f1 check, king h1 again the only move, knight g3 check, forcing king h2, and now queen f2 is mate. So that's it anyway, a brilliant game from the not especially well known Malakhov. And note again his queenside knight and rook, which he didn't have to bring into the game at all. It was a war won without the need for reserve troops, I guess you could call it. We got a bit of time left anyway, so we may as well have a replay with the threatened squares on. So yeah, it was a Queen's Gambit declined, the Chepanenko variation, which we saw in a different video recently, I think from the Tal Memorial. And like I said, yeah, it's getting increasingly popular at top level. And yeah, what was unusual here is that Svidler recaptured with the queen. In my Fritz opening book, usual is g takes f3 with the open g file, although it's not going to be as effective as it could be because Malakhov had fiend shadowed, so the open g file isn't quite as dangerous as it could be, but it still will be strong for attack. And look at all that tension in the board. It's yeah, it was a very complex game, but very well played by Malakhov, who I don't think I've even seen one game of his before. I hadn't heard of him before this tournament. He's I think he's 29 years old, from Russia, and he's yeah, obviously a force to be reckoned with if he can beat Svidler in 31 moves. You know, Svidler's an absolute giant in the chess world. So it's a brilliant game from Malakhov. And his attack here was flawless. And I mean, fair enough, Svidler made a few mistakes, but as I've said before, you can't win unless your opponent makes mistakes. So yeah, and queen takes f6. Congratulations if you found that. It's brilliant move. But it's the kind of move that only becomes possible in situations where you're about to promote. The tactics that become available to the player with a pawn that's about to promote, I think, are pretty much the most plentiful than any other situation in chess. So that's it anyway. And Malakhov should make the semi-finals fairly easily now, because each of the rounds are the best of 2 games, and after he's won this one, he only needs a draw with the white pieces to go through. So we'll see how that game goes and how the other games go, and hopefully get another video out of it. And don't forget to vote about whether you want an endgame series with lots of studies of endgames and endgame themes, endgame strategy, that type of thing, or if you want to see some games from Bobby Fischer's My 60 Memorable Games. Like I said, the first series to get 10 votes will be the one I'll make the next few videos about. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this game anyway. Please leave any comments or thoughts. Thanks very much.